The Suicide Squad. Yep, there's a movie coming out in 2016 and it's officially been cast. Now, even though I'm extremely late on this, we're gonna have a video explaining what each version of the Suicide Squad was. Because in the comic books, there's actually a lot of different teams called the Suicide Squad or Task Force X, and they each have their own individual missions and jobs that they had to do. Our current team is the one that you're all familiar with, and that's the Suicide Squad, made up of supervillains that are being given a second chance, and these supervillains have a bomb placed in their neck. But that's not where the Suicide Squad started. You see, originally, in an issue of Secret Origins, it was established that the first Suicide Squad was a team led by Rick Flag during World War II. Once Rick Flag eventually passed on, Rick Flag Jr. takes over the team, and he leads it to its first official appearance in The Brave and the Bold. These stories are used to establish Rick Flag Jr.'s origins, and they were a team of non-powered individuals fighting against superpowered villains in situations. Typically, they were called in when the Justice Society couldn't get to an event, and this leads them to fight dinosaurs, giants, and other monstrous creatures. They disbanded eventually, but Amanda Waller stepped in when Darkseid tried to turn humanity against Earth's superheroes. She assigned Rick Flag Jr. to reform Task Force X, and it consisted of Blockbuster, Bronze Tiger, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot. The group's mission was to remove the fire elemental Brimstone, which Deadshot does with an experimental laser rifle. This was such a successful story that it led to the first official Suicide Squad comic series. This book followed the team in a post-Infinite Crisis era where they were created and directed by Amanda Waller. This series was known for giving obscure characters like Captain Boomerang and Deadshot a shot, and Deadshot even got a mini-series of his own that tied back into the Suicide Squad series. The series was also known for referencing and deconstructing the real-world climate of the times, which included the hostility of the Middle East, the Cold War, and the covert American response to the international dictatorship. They even met with real-world figures like Ronald Reagan. This was also one of the first uses of the character Oracle. Long story short, the Oracle is Barbara Gordon, whom is wheelchair-bound after the events of Killing Joke, and she's a computer wizard. Well, she acted as the squad's remote radio support. This series ran for a total of 66 issues and contained 9 story arcs. And after running many missions for Waller, the Suicide Squad is disbanded by her ending the series. The team itself that lasted all of those issues contained Amanda Waller, Rick Flag Jr., Bronze Tiger, Captain Boomerang, Count Vertigo, Deadshot, Dr. Light, Duchess, Enchantress, Julie, Nemesis, Nightshade, Oracle, Poison Ivy, Punch, Ravon, Shade, Thinker, and Vixen. But even though they were disbanded, DC didn't want to just let an awesome idea like the Suicide Squad go, so they lived on in cameo appearances in other books. The first of these was an appearance in the Superboy book, where the team consisted of Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, King Shark, Knockout, Sam Makoya, and Sidearm. Superboy himself actually joins up with the Suicide Squad for the length of this story arc. Next, they arrive at Hawk and Dove when the government decided to go after Hawk and Dove, and they sent the Suicide Squad in to handle them. A few more adventures later, and Lex Luthor assembles his own Suicide Squad while he's the President of the United States. This squad consisted of Chemo, Mongol, Plasmus, and Shrapnel, and their job was to get Doomsday to battle against aliens. Oddly enough, Steel is the one in charge of this team. The Suicide Squad then made its official return back in 2001 with another attempt at running a comic specifically for them. But this time, it was called Task Force Omega, and it was run by Sergeant Frank Rock. Lex Luthor and Amanda Waller supply all of the missions, and the series ran for another 12 issues, but it ended once they were compromised and had to send in the Justice League of America to stop them. This version of the team had Amanda Waller, Sergeant Rock, Big Sir, Bulldozer, Clock King, Cluemaster, Deadshot, Havana, Killer Frost, Major Disaster, Modem, and Multiman. Between the second and third Suicide Squad comics, they once again popped up all over the place as Amanda Waller's personal team while she was the head of Checkmate. Most of these teams were built to move things along towards the 52 event, and with Waller being in charge of both the Suicide Squad and Checkmate, there was a lot of tension in between them. But in between these runs, the Suicide Squad ended up rounding up villains to be sent via boom tube to a prison planet. And this is what brings us to the third volume of the Suicide Squad. This volume explored Rick Flag Jr. being raised from the dead and becoming the new commanding officer. But this series only lasted 8 issues. Following this adventure, the squad became briefly involved in the Blackest Night event, where a bunch of the dead members would go and attack the current team and are known as the Homicide Squad, and Booster Gold also ends up in 1952, where he runs into the original team, led by Frank Rock. After those events, we are brought to the New 52, where the team has mostly been reinvented. Amanda Waller needs to assemble a team of villains to pick up on a botched mission that one of her agents conducted. She puts Deadshot, King Shark, and Harley Quinn on a team, along with a few other minor characters who end up getting killed off. Eventually, they pick up Captain Boomerang, James Gordon Jr., Yo-Yo, Black Spider, and the Unknown Soldier. This group eventually fights against the New 52's version of OMAC, and then DC decided to reboot the book a second time. This time, the team was dubbed the New Suicide Squad, and the team got shifted around once again to include Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Black Manta, Deathstroke, and Joker's daughter. As you can see, the Suicide Squad is constantly going through changes and has a very long history dating back to the beginning of DC Comics. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with them in the movie. As for animated appearances, they've been on the Justice League Unlimited in an episode called Task Force X. They are also referenced in Smallville, and they appear in Arrow, and there's also been rumors of a Suicide Squad TV show spun out of the characters that appeared in Arrow. There's also a movie starring them called Assault on Arkham. And there's also the basic reason why I decided to explain them now. They have a live-action film coming out very soon. As for the video games, they get mentioned in the Arkham series, and they show up in the Lego Batman game. And there's also rumors that there's supposedly going to be a Suicide Squad game eventually. I really hope it plays like the Arkham series, because if it's like any other DC game, probably won't be too happy with it. And that's it. That is a really brief rundown of the entire history of the Suicide Squad. And don't worry guys, I'm going to be covering the new version with some story arcs and some more in-depth explanations about the characters themselves, such as Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and all of those guys. I'm Benny for Comicstorian, and if you guys want to chat with me about this video, please follow me on Twitter @Comicstorian. And I'll see you guys next time right here at the channel.